think that makes a lot of sense.
That's a South American team, South American player.
Well,
Central American.
yeah, we need the point.
South of NA, all right?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
I mean, south of USA, which is basically anyone ever means when they say America, they mean USA because it's the best country.
Yeah. Everything south of America is the South.
Please save me, Europe.
I like how they call, you know, the tail end of America the deep south, and I'm from Australia, which is as south as it can possibly be. Actually, I think Chile and New Zealand are slightly south, more south of it.
When you say the South USA, like Australia really is Southern English people. Like
Southern English. We don't sound anywhere as posh as Southern English. But.
Oh, exactly. And the South USA does not sound anywhere near as posh as the North. Anyways.
Southern hospitality, et cetera, et cetera.
It's actually that large, but the map itself, like side to side, can feel very large, and it also has easy expansion patterns.
Yeah.
So you see, like the mech player, they take the triangle bases, very easy to defend. But we absolutely have Sim on the way for Polt. Hellions trying to get something done, but a tank is out. Cyclone also could have come down, but I thought it was in the main trying to deal with a potential Liberator. That was obviously a Raven, but I guess it was probably on the ramp because you want to have it for both options.
Yeah, the Raven isn't the quickest unit, even though it did get or rather the Cyclone's not the quickest unit there. The Raven got a bit of a very solid opening. He definitely is ahead at the moment, you know, getting a few extra more workers. He's down a bit in army, but in TVT, if you're the defending player with siege tanks, it's very hard to kill the person that has less army than you. And he has Ravens with lots of energy as well.
Yes, that's TVT. TVT comeback, right? But yeah, SpeCial went for 3 Ravens here, and Polt, he's going to have that stim, but you need a decent number of Marines to actually utilize it, and we'll be able to jump on top of SpeCial before you can utilize those spells on that Raven. Sometimes keeping your tanks on siege is the best way, because if they're siege and get interference matrix, they literally cannot do anything. They cannot even run away, but he wants to just be able to stop the Ravens from ever threatening that, which he already did, getting 1 injured, seeing the attack coming as well. The Ravens being very bold, they're going in here, but their speed was increased. He target fires the Raven of Polt, and that would have been a nice pick off there, but otherwise auto turret's not doing too much.
Stim is a nice advantage here for Polt, but SpeCial's doing a great job of making sure that the Stim is not something Polt can use to his advantage. He's keeping his main ground army at bay and not letting those Ravens go too deep. It's
a really convincing fight, even with the Ravens, especially if they're not actually part of it, which he's using them to harass, but that is his... that's what he has going for him, is that he has 2 extra Ravens that could live, that could influence even later battles, but he does not have combat shields right now, and he is going to be pressured. His auto turret harassment kills about 4 SCVs, which is not bad, but they're at even SCVs now. But the upgrades, Polt, so favorable in his upgrades, combat shields and 1-1.
And even though his armory was delayed there with the Raven harassment, it still feels like he's going to start 2-2 way earlier than SpeCial here because of how further quality his upgrades are. And he's going across the map, and I think this is absolutely a good move. SpeCial has broken down the rocks between his natural and third, so he can get up there to that high ground to defend, and I feel like he absolutely has to. SpeCial coming up with those tanks. Advantage in Marines for Polt, and he's already in range of that command center. Picks off a Raven right away there, and the third of SpeCial is in big trouble.
Is that going to go down? The SCVs are not trying to repair it. The tank is still interference matrix. 1 tank behind that's not going to be enough to stop it. The command center goes down, and Polt takes a commanding lead.
Big move there from Polt. He's absolutely ahead now. Picking off that Liberator as well, a very expensive unit for SpeCial. It feels like Polt needs to pull out, though. He wants to continue to pressure and trade well, but without that much Raven energy. Oh, speaking of which, getting that one returning from harassment there, but not quite. That thing just one stiff breeze and it will break apart. And just as I mentioned, 2-2 starting way earlier for Polt still. He's going to enjoy that upgrade lead still as this game continues.
Honestly, Polt just feels like he did play the better TVT. I mean, SpeCial was choosing something a little bit different. He wanted to utilize the 3 Ravens for something more than ended up happening, so that's like a big difference of their choices. But as Polt takes a 3rd CC away from SpeCial, clearly Polt's decision and execution has been better here, and he is so far ahead in that 2-2. Sensor tower's coming down a little bit late, but it is a single drop, not very lethal, and Polt, like any good Terran, you learn not to just rally push in TVT, has plenty to do. Coming down to now pressure Polt as his entire army has been kept back. Dealing with that single medevac drop might have been kind of easy, but it did keep his army on this side of the map nice and defensive, something that SpeCial can now start being aggressive, hopefully catch off guard a little bit too. The interference matrix do come down. Tank on the right side just randomly running into the tanks of SpeCial. He's jumping on top of the 1 tank, maybe the 2nd tank. He does grab that, perhaps a 3rd, a 4th tank goes down. Polt down to 1 tank against this aggression.
every advantage Polt had right now. If he doesn't win this engagement and if Special rolls over him, he will still win map number 1. It looked so good for him a second ago, but Polt, again, not that much army supply and not that many tanks, which is the worst part of his composition right now. Special just leapfrogging these tanks closer and closer. Nearly has enough energy on 2 Ravens for 2 more interference matrices. He's just saving that energy for an actual battle. He's going to pick up some of the production of Polt as well. It's like Polt's 4th and 5th barracks is actually down here on the low ground, so that's cutting into marine production.
Last tank, once about a factory, it's not going to happen. A Thor is available, trying to, I would say, target fire the Ravens, of course. That Thor actually seems very out of place. I was like, what is a Thor there? But sure, it does have that range.
And Polt just doesn't have an air army, right? So he's going to do something to try and shoot back these Ravens. Polt's breaking off 3 medevacs to the right side to try and turn this into more of a base trade. I actually don't think that's a terrible idea, but it's really looking bad for him in the natural, and he will absolutely lose this game if his natural goes down. And
it wasn't an instant decision by him, so Special's had a little bit of time to try and reinforce and just keep something back at home. He is rally pushing a little bit, it looks like. The SCVs need to repair that CC. He loses that. Yeah. He does have a 4th above his opponent, but that would be, well, exactly what Special wants. But Special has already taken a bit of a lead in that army supply. He is not sieged, either the Liberator or the tanks. The Marines need to actually jump on it, though. A little bit late. They're going to take some losses, but can they continue the momentum? Special takes out the 4th CC at Polt's 3rd base, as well as the 3rd CC, and Polt was just entirely out of position.
Yeah, unfortunately, Special's
be okay, but Special's the one that still has tanks, and Polt now looking like he has that Thor still there. That's not a tank.
It's not a tank. And the 2 tanks here of Special are starting to shoot down those Marines of Polt. They're even target firing down his own tanks. Not worried about the Thor, not worried about the Marines. Special's bio count just doesn't seem to be slowing down too much here. High ground tank from Polt, still holding on. 8 Marine kills so far on that bad boy, but can it actually stop Special's attack? Special still is at the front door, and the answer is no. It is the man himself. It is Polt. If you're looking for a new Terran's esports teams, pick him up, do yourselves a favor. And in the bottom right here from Chivo, he is SpeCial. Currently on match points.
Yeah, I think people expected SpeCial to take this series, but Polt really proving that he's just a tournament contender, you know? I feel like Polt was always a bit of that guy where maybe he wasn't like 7K on the NA ladder, right? I don't think he ever made that. And it wasn't like a lot of maybe hype around like he is literally the best play I've ever seen. It was more just like, yeah, he just wins all the time. So of course he's one of the best players I've ever seen. But you watch, you know, Cyril, right? And still talking about Cyril too much. But Cyril is like, oh my God, like he actually is doing things that just, you're not supposed to be able to. Polt, he just wins tournaments. He's very solid. He has a good mindset. And you're tricky. But yeah, SpeCial going for Magfield Accelerator. You would assume this 100% meant mech, but I've actually seen, I mean, maybe it was SpeCial.
I'm like
going to buy
110% sure it's mech. Both gases and that natural being taken from SpeCial as well. So you don't do that when you just make Marines. So yeah, and I'm expecting a 2nd and 3rd factory here shortly from our Mexican Terran. So moves down the map there to take a little bit of map control. You know, poke its Polt, see what he can do. That Cloakless Banshee, she's still around. She's still a threat. And there's that 2nd factory. 3rd one soon to follow.
Yeah. Scan
from Polt as well. If you see the tech lab spinning, I feel like that's already a pretty big tell there for Polt.
It should absolutely be going into mech, and then there's still no tech lab on the barracks either, so there really is no chance that they're just like, oh, gotcha, and they cancel it and start sim immediately. And the 2 factories are on the way. I mean, you don't really want to commit to like a ton of Cyclones. There was a pretty, well, the Banshee's dead now. There was a pretty bad TVT meta where it was literally Cyclone versus Cyclone, and
oh god, yeah, no, it was the PvP tank and not the lock-on tank.
No one, I don't think anyone liked that. It's like no one liked that. But like you can start off with it, and it can be very powerful against like these early situations where in TVT, so much of our builds, like no one really does like a 2-1-1 anymore in this matchup, right? Never 3 racks. We're all like a couple of important unit dependent, right? So the Cyclone taking out 1 tank is huge. Interference makes the 1 tank is huge. Once the Marine count grows, you got to go away from Cyclones, but that's going to take some time.
This early game Cyclone army of SpeCial is a little bit newer school with mech and TVT. They, with Magfield, can really kill buildings very quickly, as we're seeing over here at this 3rd base. Polt! That needs to get out of there. That's going to die.
That is going to die. You could just, it's worth sacrificing. Oh, the interference matrix to try and stop that from happening was a good idea.
Oh, that's so incredibly bad for Polt.
Yeah.
Like, he almost needs to go all in, like right now, and he's going to lose the Cyclone.
I think he does. I mean, he does have Stim on his side, and medevacs are coming through here, so while the tank count is low, maybe...
Does clip a couple of those tanks to the south side there, so those are the kinds of engagements that Polt wants. Does he actually have enough to do damage here on this planetary before it completes? Because when the planetary is done, it's going to be able to fight back this bio all by itself. The tanks actually do the job there before the planetary is finished anyway. And that Liberator actually, I feel, was the game-winning Liberator from SpeCial. Even though he'd already been in a really good spot, that Liberator has taken all the hope out of the... he's taken all the wind out of the hope sails of Polt. It just does not look good at all here for the Korean Terran.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, it's game winning. Also, that third CC being lost, probably game winning.
Yeah.
His army is game winning. Like,
yeah.
SpeCial is just plain game winning. There's even an air advantage for him. There's really nothing Polt can do except stay in as long as possible. Like, it's the first match. He has a lower bracket that I think he could have a successful run in, but Polt's definitely been the guy that's like, he's going to try to the very last.
He is also showing us a lot of flashes of brilliance, so Polt fans don't lose heart just yet. Says Zombie Grub just mentioned, losers bracket is there, but right now, of course, it is looking extremely bad. It's hard for us to talk about the ways that Polt can actually come back at this point. We're trying to find a way. We don't see it at the moment. There is just a big siege chokehold here from SpeCial. The air army, if Polt had a big one, a big ball of Vikings, maybe he pushes back the Liberator, maybe he can get those tanks a little bit closer, maybe he can muscle back the tanks of SpeCial, but my God, look at that concave of Terran Boom Boom here from SpeCial. Just way too much. The Boom Boom, the siege tanks, they are just deleting every bio unit that comes anywhere near their range. Their 1-1 upgrades don't really care about the 2-2 bio upgrades. And this counterattack here at this command center, SpeCial is 5 bases against a barely 3-base Polt, as he does have a command center in the top right of the map.
I like Boom Boom a lot less than SC2. I'll tell you what, Boom Boom's not very fun.
Good call, Zombie Grub. Analysis
that
award goes to.
That is it, though. The army finally moves forward. This is all 1-1, mech, by the way, only just starting 2-2. But his army was just so much bigger. And so much better, too, because mech armies, right? That's the whole point. They eventually get better. GG, SpeCial does take the 2-0, but Polt really did show that he is still a tournament contender. Like, yes. Not maybe winning, but absolutely going to the lower bracket, for instance, in that first game.
Yeah, he is absolutely showing flashes of brilliance. Specifically, game 1 made me go, oh, Polt's actually a very good player right now. I like this. Yeah. I mean, going toe-to-toe with SpeCial is not easy. There's very few people out there like you. Oh, I've got a Grandmaster badge, so maybe I could do okay against SpeCial. No, you cannot. You need to be much better than that. But yeah, cool first series with SpeCial getting the better end of it. We're going to take a short break. When we return, an interview with our winner and more. We'll see you there.